On 11 September, Mexico approved a sweeping judicial reform. It allowed election of judges at all levels, from the lower courts right up to the top court of the land. In one fell swoop, outgoing President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, helped in no small measure by his protege and President-elect Claudia Sheinbaum, quite literally upended the country's judicial system. Now, it was all done constitutionally. First, the lower chamber of the legislature voted 359 to 135 to pass the legislation. Next, the upper chamber of the legislature okayed it by 86 to 41 votes. Then, the states of Mexico signed on to it. The ruling party is in a good position in 25 of the 32 states. So, ratification by a majority of the state legislatures was not a problem. President Obrador says that he could sign and publish the constitutional change as early as 15 September on the eve of the country's Independence Day. And once that happens, Mexico can begin electing its judges. So far, so good, but it raises more questions than it answers. For instance, will it politicize the judiciary? Will it undermine the rule of law? Could interest groups such as corporates or mafia influence judges' election? What happens to the separation of powers as we understand it? What about the independence of the judiciary? Will the judiciary still be able to overrule the government? And will judges come under pressure to vote for what is popular? Now, as things stand now, it's a done deal, and it is a big deal. Get this, no other country in the world has done something like this ever in human history. Mexico will soon begin electing its judges as opposed to appointing or selecting them, which is what you and I have grown up knowing. Now, what do the reforms say? Well, for starters, all the nearly 7,000 posts of judges in Mexico will be filled through a nationwide election, just like countries around the world elect their president, prime minister, or lawmakers. 2, the number of judges in the top court will decrease from 11 to 9. 3, the term of judges will be shortened to 12 years. 4, the minimum age for becoming a judge will be 35. 5, the minimum work experience required to become a judge will be halved from 10 to 5 years. And 6, a new committee will look into matters of indiscipline or unethical conduct of judges. There are other changes too. Judges stand to lose certain benefits in terms of pay and allowances, and judges will now be able to work anonymously on cases pertaining to criminal gangs. So how will this new system work? Well, the government, legislature and judiciary can nominate candidates who will then be vetted by a committee to determine whether they can stand for election or not. It's a departure from the existing system under which Mexico's president forwards a short list of names for the post of a judge of the top court to the upper chamber of the legislature for approval. Now, there are compelling arguments to be made for and against election of judges. The Mexican government believes that it will reduce, if not end, corruption altogether. It will address the problem of nepotism. It will become easier to punish errant judges and generally make the judiciary answerable to the people, not big business or organized crime syndicates. But critics fear that courts will now be stacked with judges who favor a particular party. Anyone with a law degree could now stand for election as a judge. It would become easier for politicians and mafiosi to influence judges. Checks and balances on the government will go. And last but not the least, there won't be security of tenure because many judges could soon be out of a job overnight. As Sandra Herrera Benitez, a spokesperson for judicial workers, says, where does that leave my 27 years of service? So, Is it radical? Yes, absolutely. Is it unprecedented? Well, yes and no. In Bolivia, only the judges of the top court are elected. In the US, some states elect judges. Switzerland elects its judges, but only at the local level. And in Japan, the judges of the top court are reviewed through a vote every decade, that is, every 10 years. So Mexico is not the first country to pursue similar judicial reforms. Israel has tried to rein in the judiciary too. Now, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's government wants to control appointment of judges, prevent the country's top court from overturning laws, and empower the country's legislature to veto the courts. Protests broke out in 2023 against the move, but Hamas attacks in Israel have put the reforms on the back burner. Opinion is divided in Mexico. Mexico's Chief Justice Norma Lucia Pina Hernandez is opposed to the reforms. She says the dismantling of the judiciary is not the way forward. Luis Hernandez, a 21-year-old student, says there is no point in having a judicial career if in the end you have to be popular to deliver justice. Mexico's major trading partners, the US and Canada, have all warned that the judicial overhaul could undermine a trade pact and negatively impact investment. The reform has spooked markets too, with Mexico's currency weakening some 17%. But President-elect Claudia Sheinbaum says a truly independent and autonomous power elected by the people is good for the country. And for his part, outgoing President Obrador says it sets an example for the world. The jury is still out on that. There are some who say that if you have not done anything wrong, you have nothing to fear. Others say if judges become politicians, will they start thinking like one? Also, don't forget, elections require money. So who will fund the election of judges? For now, Mexico and the world can only wait and watch how things pan out for this path-breaking initiative. As they say, the proof of the pudding is in the eating.